Today I want to look at all the commanders that we have access to on Renly's side Baratheon. I want to look at the attachment itself, what it can do, and also the cards the commander has access to, because I think it comes as a package and it should be looked at as such. Because sometimes you have a really great attachment, but the cards are let down or other way around, and I would like to have a look at it. Okay, so the first one is Courtney Penrose. I think already right off the bat this has to be one of the best attachment and card combos in Hall of Baratheon, especially in Renly Baratheon. So Courtney Penrose himself does a couple of things. First of all, we increase our hand size limit as long as he's alive, which is awesome. I feel like Baratheon cards are very, very strong, but sometimes they're situational and sit in your hand for a while. But you don't want to throw them away necessarily, because you know that soon you will be able to use them, just waiting for the right moment, and they're too strong to throw away. So just having that one extra slot in your hand really helps to cycle some of the cards and not have cards that are heavy in your hand have a big impact on you. So then also Might of the Throne, he gets to charge or attack on the crown. It's obviously very awesome, especially that he can charge. Crown is usually a field that not many people really actively try to get. Um, so usually it's open, and then your opponent really has to think about, okay, he needs to um, start to grab that crown, otherwise he will just charge and attack him for free, which is a huge deal. And if he doesn't grab it, you get to charge or attack for free, so that's a pretty good, amazing attachment. But his cards are also extremely awesome. Issue commands, very nice. Friendly unit in long range can activate instead of Courtney Penrose, makes you unpredictable, makes you attack twice, for example, with another unit your opponent did not expect it. So suddenly maybe when he thinks, okay, the fighting on this side of the board is done, I can focus somewhere else, and then you hit him again. Uh, yeah, your opponent can be in for some nasty surprises. And then amazing counterplot. Don't have to tell you too much about it. You just cancel opponent's effect on a 3 up if you have crown or letters, on a 2 up if you have both, then it's automatically. Just awesome card to have. You cancel some of your opponent's key cards. Super strong, yeah. And surprise strategy lets you fetch a card from the discard pile. If you have the letters, yeah, you basically just trade surprise strategy for the card in the discard pile. So basically, if you want, you can grab counterplot 2 times more, and then you have 4 times counterplot in your deck essentially. Of course, you can grab any other card, but to have 4 counterplots is just crazy. Not even Lannister have access to this. So I want to say probably already one of the best attachment card combos, probably the best in my personal opinion. Next one is Elden Estermond. So right off the bat, Mark Target is a really nice ability to have. Hardened can make sense in a heavily armored unit, if you think about Rose Knights, for example. Um, if you already lost 1 or 2 ranks, then you can have some additional blocking. To be honest, not really my favorite ability, because you have to already be low on health for it to do something, and maybe it can save you from dying for 1 turn, maybe, maybe not. So personally, I don't really like it. The cards I also don't really like, with the exception of Battle Endurance. Battle Endurance is probably one of the best cards in the game. Crazy strong. Um, Giving your units rerolls. Then turn 4 Sundering, turn 5 Crit Blow, turn 6 plus attack dice. But the other cards I'm not too sure about. Martial Superiority basically gives you Disrupt and Counter Strike. If you can expend that vulnerable token from your opponent, of course, you can give it yourself with Mark Target on a friendly turn. Can be nice on occasion if it works, and Hefty Ransom I'm honestly not such a big fan about. So I'm a little bit more reserved about Elden Estermond, to be honest, especially as he's not as flexible as maybe other commanders, because I think because of the hardened ability, he really needs to go in a heavily armored unit. Next up is one of the better commanders again. It's Loras Tyrell. Attachment is really nice. Expert Duelist basically gives you an additional wound every time you attack. I would personally not gamble too much on the 5 up to destroy that enemy attachment if it's not really like in a desperate situation where it's necessary to do this. Then Dauntless is kind of nice. I think he was designed to be put in Rose Knights because obviously in the Rose Knights, if Dauntless triggers, you give your opponent an extra wound. So I think he's really designed to be put in Rose Knights. He increases their overall damage output really nicely because with Expert Duelist they dish out an additional wound. Possibly when they activate, they heal one wound anyways, so basically it's 2 auto wounds, and then if they hit back with Dauntless they give another auto wound. So it really increases that grindability, let's say, that Rose Knights possess, yeah. So I think that's what he was made for. So his cards, 2 great cards, one maybe not so good, loved by a small folk. It's a great trick if it works. If your opponent's about to hit you, you give him vulnerable weekend. It's very strong if it works. If your opponent just makes the test, it does not do anything. So it's quite conditional. If it goes through, it's very strong though. Overgrowth is just amazing card, especially if you get it early in the game. Basically, anytime your opponent wants to hit your unit, he gets some auto hits first. So this is, for example, especially nice if you want to protect against ranged attacks. This is super strong because this goes against any type of attack. And I really like it, for example, also in quite mobile units like Thornwatch that have bad armor but can heal themselves. So usually you are on 2 or 3 ranks with those guys anyways, so that amount of auto hits that your opponent receives is very high, and your opponent will start to think twice about hitting that unit, even though it has only a 5 up save. You giving some auto hits before is always very annoying, and it really adds up over the turn of the game, I can say, from experience. So Overgrowth is definitely really amazing card to have, super nice. Growing Strong also a very nice card. Of course, have the Rose Knights in the back of your mind. You heal yourself, you dish out those auto wounds. Opponent becomes vulnerable. Vulnerable, of course, always a nice boost to your damage as well, since, for example, Rose Knights don't have any keywords on their attack anyway, like Sundering or so, they have nothing. So that really pushes through a couple more wounds, but also on something like Thornwatch, etc. This is very nice. It's just a very nice card overall. I think Loras Tyrell probably for me second strongest commander we have. So now we come to the 3 different Renlys. First of all, Renly Baratheon the Charismatic Heir, also known usually as Renly 1. And so first of all, I have to say I'm not sure if he's really quite worth it as an attachment, points-wise. What do I mean with this? Usually a commander, the attachment of the commander should be the equivalent of 2 points in strength. And if we look at Boldness and Courage, it's obviously a great stat to, or great ability to have, but it's only worth 1 point if you take it as an attachment. And then Embolden gives friendly units in short range +1 to morale test rolls. So if he only gives it on himself because all his allied units are too far away, I want to say this is kind of like a 1.5 point unit. So I would not feel too great about taking him. So you really have to keep his allied units around him to make it worth it overall, in my opinion. His cards are alright, nothing out of the ordinary. They will make me king. I don't like you give in short range 1 wound or your units restore 1. It's okay. I mean, I guess if you have like 3 units of Rose Knights who all heal 1 could be awesome, but probably that's not the case. So, and it's only one wound. I don't like it so much. Wealth and Charisma can be super good if you have an opponent that really spams out lots of tokens and all your units start to have tokens on them. This is a really great card. If not, it's still okay, but possibly not worth a commander card slot, if you understand what I mean. And Younger, Bolder and Far More Comely is a nice card if it works, but it has 2 requirements on it. First of all, you have to be in long range of Renly all the time, and if Renly dies, this doesn't work anymore. And for these 2 conditions, if you meet them, you get +1 attack die, and you restore 1 wound on activation, which is of course nice, but it's not like this is the best ability in the world, and then you have all these conditions that need to be met, so not quite sure about this one. Then we look at Renly Baratheon, Lord Paramount of the Stormlands, aka Renly 2. First of all, the attachment is really amazing. He gives many great buffs. First of all, precision. can boost your damage slightly. Stalwart gives that unit +2 on morale rolls. And Boisterous Charisma is really nice because anytime you make your panic test, your opponent becomes either vulnerable or weak. Very strong, especially of course, obvious combo with Stalwart. If you for example put this in Rose Knights, you sit on a 3-up morale. If nothing else happens, and you really can then start to spam tokens with this. The idea obviously is to go to fight in the middle or wherever and take lots of panic tests from getting hit, and then you make those panic tests and start to spam your tokens. So, big problem with this one I feel like are the cards. I really don't like the cards. In His Brother's Shadows I think is a good card. You can turn off your the opponent's commander's abilities, which can be very crippling for one turn. Or Renly's unit can perform maneuver or retreat, so you can really do some movement shenanigans, bring yourself suddenly in a position where you'll be able to strike when your opponent think you could not, or you can retreat from melee combat when your Renly unit was about to be hit. So really some nice play with this. I really like this type of card I really like. Hidden Affairs, in my opinion, contradicts Renly's use completely. What do I mean with this? Basically, Hidden Affairs is you give Renly's unit Sentinel. So, but usually units that have Sentinel try to stay a little bit out of the combat and be able to use the Sentinel ability to charge your opponent and run into combat. So, but with Renly units, you don't really want to be standing on the sidelines, as I understand this attachment. You want to go in the middle of the fight, make all your panic tests and dish out your tokens. So this could be like an optional thing in the maybe beginning of the game, or if there's a moment where Renly's unit has no opponent in front of them. But in my opinion, this is very conditional probably. And Inexplicable Return. There's some shenanigans definitely possible. You can start to swap attachments, a little bit like the Free Folk. If you really make up your mind what kind of ideas you would like to do, I think there's some cool things possible. Although this is not like the Free Folk card where you get both attachment abilities for one turn, you just swap them. Or you can attach one previously destroyed attachment and put them into a unit that doesn't have attachment right now. But I usually don't bring units that don't have attachments. Usually every unit I have has some attachment, especially with the upcoming patch where they want to make it more attractive to bring attachments. I think it's not really happening all that much. And lastly we have Renly Baratheon King in the South, aka Renly 3. I think this is a really underrated commander, to be honest. So, first of all, claims to the kingdom. When he's targeted by friendly abilities or tactic card, he always counts as having crown or crown and letters, which is really nice. Comes in handy quite a few times with the Baratheon cards, so I really like it. Yeah, gives a great bonus. And then, but the main thing is for me Swift Strike. Swift Strike, in my opinion, I've said it a couple of times already in other videos. I think it's one of the strongest abilities probably in the whole game. You hit your opponent and then you immediately get to retreat. There's lots of movement shenanigans you can do. You can position yourself new all the time. You can try to poke your opponent and find an opening to retreat into his sides, into his back, etc. Your opponent really needs to be on his heels all game so that you not slip through. So I think this is really strong. I really love it. It's exactly my playstyle. Then Renly 3 can also bring his Rainbow Guard, which I think is just it's a great unit. I've covered it in another video on my channel. It's just a very nice unit, lots of fun to play, very strong. Then let's look at the cards. First of all, the weakest card right off the bat, Knights of the Summer. It's basically you do a morale test, then one of your opponent does a panic test. Not really that great. Panic is not something on the Renly side we usually play with. So yeah, you might deal on average 2 damage. You might not. Basically with a 50-50 chance, this card basically represents dealing 1 damage on average. So not really great. So, but overconfidence, probably one of the best cards in the game, I want to say. One enemy unit ends a maneuver, march, or retreat, and you just basically get to charge them immediately. If you make the charge, it's not like a normal attack, but you instead deal hits, like automatically for like 2 hits for each rank you still have. But so that's nice. You charge and give those hits, even if it's not a normal attack you have. But this happens after your opponent has moved. So basically, you just charged out of sequence, and then it's your turn again. So basically, it's a double strike you can do. You charge your opponent, do those auto hits, and then it's your turn, and then you get to strike again. So, and if you also combine this with Swift Strike, just imagine this: your unit was standing somewhere, then it charges across the board, and then it's your turn, you hit, and then you retreat, and suddenly within like just like one turn, you have moved so much around. I think it's just great. Or you can just even, how I use it sometimes is if an opponent moves, for example, exactly 12 inches away from me, or 11, 12 inches, so he thinks he's safe from my charge, I use this card. I perhaps don't even make the charge, because the charge would be, for example, on a 6 up. But even if I fail the charge, I get to move. So, and then basically afterwards, for me, it's the opponent is in auto charge range. So you can just use it as a gap closer. For me, this is very awesome. Because also, again, this is happening in your opponent's face. And having that much movement in your opponent's face is really rare, and it's extremely strong every time it happens. So, and then we have Lavish Encampment. It's basically tactic board control. I really like it. Most common effect I have with this is opponent takes the swords, he does the effect, I move him off the swords, some other zone, I take the swords also and get to attack for free as well. This is a really simple one. I really like it. Tactic board control, it's surprising for your opponent who maybe not, who's not counting that you get to make a free attack, for example, in a given situation. For me, this is just a really good one. So these have been all the Renly Baratheon commanders, not including neutral ones. And I must say, personally, my favorites, I think the strongest package, as I said earlier, have probably to be Courtney Penrose and Loras Tyrell. And for me personally, I also count Renly Baratheon King in the South, while the others are perhaps more niche picks. I'm not saying these are useless, you can make them work 100%, but it probably takes a little bit more effort and you have to have a very specific list in mind. I would be very interested to know what you think, which commanders you like, and if you and how you can make those commanders work that I personally am not a big fan of. I would be really interested in that opinion. So that leaves me only to say goodbye, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.